On today's Locked On Guardians, the Guardians continue their West Coast swing. We'll talk about updates from that series out there. Luis Ortiz struggles in Game 1 if the Guardians can bounce back in Game 2. First trip through the rotation, some minor league injury notes, Stock Watch Wednesday, and a look around the AL Central on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into another episode of Locked On Guardians. It is our favorite half hour of the day where we talk about the Guardians. We hope it's yours too. Locked On Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode, we'll get into Luis Ortiz's struggles, what carried over from spring training that we don't like. We'll get some updates from Game 2 in San Diego. If you're tuning in, we're in the bottom of the third with 2 out or 1 out and 2 on as we're recording this. And
2 outs
we'll
now.
we have some 2 outs. We have some minor league injury info to get into. We'll take a look around the AL Central early on, and we'll also do a quick look at Stock Watch Wednesday. I'm Justin Latta, one of your 2 co-hosts here. I have been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007. Cannot wait to get back to that next Friday in Lake County. Let me know if you're going to be there. I'll be there. Prospects Live next year in Cleveland. Substack.com. Morning Journal, News Herald, formerly Guardians Baseball Insider.
And I'm Jeff Ellis. I used to write about baseball. I'm starting my draft stuff now, and that's going to appear over on, why am I blanking on our White Sox Friends website, as well as my own. But I used to be known for that when I wrote for 24/7 and Scout nationally, as well as appearing on every single Cleveland sports blog that has or will exist, where I was your 7th favorite Cleveland sports blogger of all time. For those who are new, I know we've gained a lot of it. This was a joke last year. That number is going to evolve and change. In the comments below, guess what 7 would be? And I will give you a hint since it's the first day of doing this again. It's something to do with the game today.
Yeah, not a good number for the fact.
No.
So we are jumping into the middle of this recording. It is the bottom of the 3rd inning. The Guardians do have 2 outs. The defense has really bailed Logan Allen out in this one. He has put some runners on. They've turned 2 double plays. They just cut down a runner at home. So if you can say one good thing about this game so far is the Guardians defense has showed up and supported Logan Allen, and he's needed it. And we're going to talk about starting pitching. We're going to talk about the first trip through the rotation, how we're feeling about that, how we're feeling about Luis Ortiz, how we're feeling about Logan Allen, how this is going to evolve throughout the year. But the one thing we can say for sure is the Guardians definitely going to need good defense. And, with Andres Gimenez gone, which I know some people want to talk about, that's may or may not be
negative defensive value so far in Toronto. So that's my only comment. It's so early. Andres can have. We know that's not going to stay. He's an otherworldly defender. So I just always want to throw that out. It is so early. Weird stuff like that can appear in numbers.
It is weird. Ironically enough, I mean, things are going better in this game than they were in Game 1 because by this time Luis Ortiz had already hit a few road bumps and things were kind of nasty for him early on. Let's get into Luis Ortiz a little bit, Jeff. Man, these were all things that carried over from spring training, which is exactly the thing I don't love. We talked about kind of on our starting pitcher preview episode. We talked about all through that stuff. And some of the data we looked at, from a year ago when he finally transitioned to the rotation was he walked less batters, guys chased out of the zone a little bit more. He scrapped the changeup, and he just went with a 3 fastball approach, and that worked really well for him last year, moving with the rotation for the Pirates. Early in the year, I mean, you were diving into some different data. I was just looking at last year specifically, and I said, well, okay, April, May, his walk rate was pretty absurdly bad, and he was bad. And then as the season went on, he got better. The walk rate went down. He moved into the rotation, which is odd because you would think, obviously, the walk rate's going to be a little inflated, right? If you're walking 1 or 2 guys as a reliever, that walk rate's going to be inflated because you're facing less batters. But as he moved into the rotation, that was going down, which I thought was a good sign. So, like I said earlier in the season, I'm hopeful that is really just a thing that happens to him early in the season as he struggles. If you're looking on YouTube, I have the rolling stats from a year ago. You can see April, very bad, May, a little better, June, July, great. And as it went on, it got much better. So I hope that's just like an early season thing for him. But the other thing I can really point to here, and it's, you want to be careful not to overanalyze one start, but this is kind of a thing that happened to him throughout the spring too. And, I look at like the arm angles. If you're watching on YouTube here's his arm angles. In his first start, his arm angle was up a couple degrees. I don't know if that matters that much, but the issue with Ortiz is the ball is moving so much, and he gets a lot of movement on all those fastballs that he throws. He pulls the slider, the sinker runs in. I think all the movement could be related to the arm angle possibly, but you don't want to overanalyze one start either. So
Yeah, when you look at his data from a year ago, very specifically, it's interesting. He actually had a pretty good FIP in March and April, in spite of a walk rate over 5, and that was the only month his walk percentage was over 10%. Now, that the reason it was so good is because guys couldn't hit anything at the start of the year. Now, the concerning thing in general is that his K percentage by month never got higher than 7.66. Like, he is not going to miss bats. He just does not have swing and miss stuff. Everything has to be about pitching to contact. And because he is going to have so much contact, his sinker has to get used more. Like, that's just the plain and simple truth. In yesterday's game, he threw 5 pitches. That was the one he used the least, only 10 times. But the average exit velocity was a 78 on that. There was a 104. The minimum was a 52. So those can bring it down at the extremes. But outside of his slider, that was at the lowest max exit velo. Of his 10 whiffs, 2 of them came on that sinker. A year ago, the data on it showed the expected slugging was a little bit higher on that slider, but his sinker, but it was a high performing pitch in spite of that. So I think he's got to throw the sinker some more. The one concept between this year and last year is his changeup is not good. People tee off the average exit velocity, which again, it's shouldn't be super high because occasionally guys shouldn't club it like it's a seal. Its average was a 101. I mean, everyone who saw it murdered that baseball. It was a mess. So less changeup and use that sinker more. You're a ground ball guy. The defense around you is pretty good, actually. Let's kill some worms. Don't let my kids hear that. They are worm lovers. But big fans of that Wildcrats episode. If you know, you know. But you need him to do that. That's what he needs to do. The slider had good expected stats and bad performance a year ago. So let's kind of wait and see on that. And the 4-seam has been just kind of average. Listen, he's an enigma. We still got the Ortiz graph up. Should we maybe take that one down? But not that people really want to see our faces, but who knows? But when we're talking about him, what makes him such an enigma is, the stuff is spectacular by all metrics. And a lot of the expected stats are better than performance. So when you drill down to it, it's like, why are results not matching expectations? And there is the one danger when you get a pitcher like him from where he came from, which is Pittsburgh's actually been pretty dynamite about pitcher development. This isn't like getting a guy from the White Sox. This isn't getting a guy from the Angels. This is a team that helped refine Paul Skeens, that helped elevate Jared Jones. Thomas Harrington's debuting this week, who's a really interesting pitcher. Bubba Chandler, you can wonder how much more the Guardians can do. And I think my biggest concern, is we've talked about a lot over the years on this show, is when it comes to what they're good at and what they're not good at. They're not good at helping with control. In the grand scheme of development, that is probably their weakest area. I'm not going to say they're bad at it, but it's what they're weakest at. They're better elevating than they are refining. And Ortiz needs refining right now.
Yeah, a lot. If you look at some of the data from a year ago, too, and I agree, Pittsburgh's done a great job, and I don't think that doesn't say there's going to be some bumps. Like a lot of people said, Ortiz had a breakout second half last year, and he definitely did. So Cleveland's buying on that, and that makes sense. I can understand that, and Cleveland continues to get the benefit of the doubt when they are acquiring pitchers like this from a lot of people, or just in general pitching development. The walk rate wasn't great last year, but it wasn't also terrible. But he ended the year with a 7.6% walk rate, which is, if you're in the single digits as a starter, I'll take that for the most part. You'd like to be in that 7% range. Yeah, he's not a strikeout guy, so I absolutely agree. I think leading into the sinker definitely would help. Ironically, his least thrown pitch in game 1, and for what it's worth, it was also one of the hardest hit pitches of the day for him too. I mean, he if you look at expected stats, it was one of the worst for him yesterday. They were all bad really, but that was one of the worst. So I could definitely see leaning into the sinker a little bit more, pitching to contact, the ground ball stuff, getting in the zone and letting it eat, do that kind of thing. He threw his slider the most a year ago, and by expected stats, the slider the run value was pretty bad, but the expected stats were really good, which is kind of odd. So I think we need to dig into context on that a little bit more in the future. I really can't dive into it today, but he didn't throw the slider that much. And the changeup thing is really interesting to me because early in the year, we talked in spring training about how a lot of guys, like, they were working on things with Slade Ciccone and they were working on things with Ortiz. The Pirates had Ortiz scrap his changeup a year ago in that game, or in that game all season. He threw 20 changeups all season a year ago. He threw 12 he threw 12 on Monday night. So he threw more than half changeups that he threw last season in one game. So that's interesting.
The minimum was a 92. Like, that's close to a hard hit. His minimum was close to a hard hit baseball.
Yeah.
On that.
It's just so strange that he really didn't throw the changeup in spring training much. We didn't see it on Savant or in games at all. And now he threw it 12 times in a game. They had lefties in that lineup, right? You have Cronenworth, you have Luis Arias, you had, Gavin Sheets, who had a great game, whatever. They had lefties in that lineup, so I guess I get it. But, like, it didn't seem like Jackson Merrill. They didn't have like a focus on Ortiz throwing the changeup in spring training, where that was trying to hide it, work on it. And then to throw out 12 in this game after really not throwing it in games in spring training, and went very four seam heavy. The four seam was fine, but I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna put too much stock into one start. It definitely wasn't great. I'd like to see. Obviously, the command is the big issue here. He had a couple good innings. Like, there were a couple good innings last night and Monday night where things looked like they settled down. He was much better, and then those 2 innings just got away from him. And I think that's what we'll have to work on throughout the year. And it's really the stuff is not the issue. Like you said, they haven't done a great job with command with guys over the years, and his command in the second half wasn't awful, but they have to figure out why in the second half the command was so good. And in spring training into this first start, this has been a trend that has continued. So I'll have to figure that out throughout the year. More thoughts on Game 1 in San Diego. We'll drop in more updates from Game 2 as we go along in this episode of Locked On Guardians. We got a minor league injury to talk about. I think Jeff will give us some box score bingo and 3 stars from Monday. We'll talk about some stuff in the AL Central. We'll do a Stock Watch Wednesday update on today's episode of Locked On Guardians.
But first, looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. So one thing I always talk about is how nuts are a great source of protein. If you want to get protein and you want that protein in a snack to fill you up so you don't overeat. Look at me. I am someone who needs to be aware of overeating. So when you eat a nut like Wonderful Pistachios, that fills you up. It makes it so you don't overeat, and you're getting good nutrition in your snacking. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Hey, if you made it this far into today's episode of Locked On Guardians, congratulations. You are a dedicated listener. You are part of our group, and we love you for that. We love you being here on Locked On Guardians. Like I said, it's our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it is your favorite half hour as well. If you like what you're hearing, auto download on your episodes in your audio platforms. We're free everywhere. Make sure you tell a friend, hit the bell on YouTube so you never miss a video. We are posting post-game videos after each reaction, so there's that. That's 3 double plays now for the Guardians tonight. That's on Tuesday night. That's a huge one. And then also join us over on the Insiders group where we're chatting during games. We're chatting when news breaks. We're sharing some prospect thoughts. We're sharing some written content. We're planning some bonus episodes, all that kind of stuff. So join us over there at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. All of our insiders got access to this news before everybody else, and that was that prospect Angel Genao, as the Guardians will go down 1-0 on a Jackson Merrill home run. I have some thoughts on Jackson Merrill. It could have been a lot worse, though. It's a solo home run. Those won't kill you.
Yeah.
Angel Genao will be out until June with a right shoulder sprain.
Painful.
So the idea for now is that he'll be back into game action in June. But yeah, we let our insiders know of that update earlier on Tuesday evening before anybody else got that. So are you a little more down on him now with him being out midseason? I think this is kind of a big deal. Shoulders are not good. It's only a sprain, but like, you know how the Guardians are with injuries. A sprain could mean a lot of things. Like,
And
Daniel
2 years.
Espino was out with knee pain 3 seasons ago, and he hasn't pitched since. So this could be anything. And I'm not saying run for the Grand Canyon and jump off it because of Genao, but this is a big prospect who I think was coming into a big year. And I'm not saying I wanted to trade Genao, but he was going to be one of the more coveted prospects in the system, whether it's in your own system or for other teams if you wanted to use that chip. And now he's out till June. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world. He can come back and be good, but I don't love shoulders. I don't love shoulder injuries for pitchers or young players who swing aggressively and have to play a defensively demanding position. So I'm definitely watching to see how this one evolves, I will say.
There's part of me wants to do like an off the shoulder look after you made your don't like shoulders comment, but I'll save everyone from that. And two, I think the other part of it is 2 years ago was almost a lost season for him. Like he scuffled and struggled. And so here's a guy who already had kind of a season where he was healthy that got away from him. So, if all things had been working, if he'd been clicking from the start, he was a top 10 guy 2 years ago. And last year, I think he was, a guy who more snuck into the top 10. If he made it, was maybe just outside. Like he's a guy who, if he hadn't had those scuffles, could be starting in, double A, or would have already hit double A, I think a year ago. So it's just another thing that's going to slow him down. Shoulders are scary. We've seen too many of them turn into something more serious, and it just stinks because he's the number 2 for both of us in the system. And I think he's more tooled up than Bazana. I think he is. Like, I think he's got he's got more of a ceiling there, honestly. So it stinks from that perspective. He's a really fun prospect. And I think I just like immediately when I got the email from Bart, I just texted you. Like it wasn't expletive driven or anything like that, but I was just like, oh man, like it was just an instant kick in the pants when I got that email.
Yeah, he missed the bunch. He did miss time with an injury in 2023. He only played 72 games, so not the first injury he's had. I don't know what the injury was in 2023, to be honest with you, but this is not his first injury, so that kind of stinks. You don't want to see this be a build-up for him. He's going to turn 21 in May. I think he'll go to Akron when he comes back anyway. He had 300 plate appearances at High A. I don't think there's any reason for him to go back. He was pretty good there a year ago, so he should still get to Akron when he comes back. That'll be good. But definitely going to slow him down, and because it would have been great to see him hit AAA by the second half, or even later in the season. I think it's very doubtful he goes to AAA this season at this point. I just again don't like shoulder injuries, and you're 100% right. He is more tooled up than Bazana, like better throwing arm, probably maybe better speed. I don't know about better power. I think they're very equal. I don't know. I think Bazana is a little more tooled up than we think. Like the hip tool. I think it's just the defense. There's more defensive value in Genao and
arm.
Maybe definitely better. Yeah, definitely better arm. That goes into the defense. Yeah.
They both run well. I think he's got like higher exit velocities too. Like for what it's worth. Like I'm not saying that Bazana can't hit for power. I think he's got some power potential there, but I just think he's got the. I just think it's a slight edge. I'm not saying it to be denigrating. I'm just saying, hey, someone besides Stephen Kwan finally reached base in this one.
Yeah, let's talk about this game a little bit as we move into looking around the AL Central and doing some stock watch stuff. This has been a tough game. Michael King, not really a surprise, is a tough customer. Had a long string of strikeouts. It really would have been great for Cleveland to get game 1 because you had a more even pitching matchup. You had Ortiz and Kyle Hart. This lineup is built to hit lefties a little better, even though. It's built. It's
100% built more to hit lefties right now.
So being able to win that game with the pitching the way it lined up and facing a lefty would have been ideal because now you got Logan Allen in this game who the defense has bailed him out a little bit, which is good. But he's
how many swings and misses does Logan Allen have?
At this point, I'm going to say 0.
1 through 4 innings. You know how many Michael King has? 13.
10. Yeah. Michael King's a tough customer. Yeah,
he's excellent. I don't know how Logan Allen is going to work. Like he's been bailed out with his velocity and everything. Like I don't see a pathway to this working right now in his current form. I know people really loved spring performance and he looked good in the spring, but I know that velocity just does not feel usable to me.
I'm not so worried about the velocity. It is weird. Like we were the thing with Logan Allen. You and I were high on him coming out of college. I think you were even higher than I was.
Yes, I was. He was far and away my highest rated player they drafted that year.
Yeah, so we thought that like there'd be a velo bump because he stopped hitting in college. When he went to the pros.
Yeah, he was the first baseman and a pitcher.
Yeah, so we thought, okay, he's going to pro ball. He's working with the Guardians. He'll drop first base. There's going to be a velo jump. He added a sweeper. He already had a good changeup. So, and all those things showed up kind of in year one for him. They were good. And last year, to me, it's just the nibbling. Like, yes, it's disappointing. The fastball velocity has not come for him, and it's actually gone backwards. He's more of 90, 92 than he used to be. He's more. We were thinking 92, 93 hitting 94, whereas it's more 90, 92 now. I do agree, like that's going to limit him a little bit, but I think he has the secondary stuff. Like he's worked on the cutter, he's got the changeup that's really good. The sweeper is a nice pitch for him. I really think for Logan Allen, it's the nibbling. This is a guy who just doesn't have confidence in his stuff last year, and it looks a lot of the same. I know he won the spring training job, the pitch starter job, but like, did he
I don't know
really
if he
win
won
it?
or if he fell into it.
Yeah, he like the same way Gabriel Arias ended up the second baseman, right? Because nobody really claimed it. Gabriel Arias is off to a decent start. Like he's got a hit in this one. He's had some good plate appearances. He's got a home run, so he's not off to a bad start. But it was more of a let's just go with this option for now because Tristan McKenzie was not throwing strikes in spring training. But it's the same for Logan Allen. Like, he was a little better in spring training in terms of strike throwing, but this start so far looks a lot like the 2024 version of Logan Allen, where he's just nibbling a ton, right? Like 8 called strikes, some foul balls. Foul balls got him in trouble a year ago. Like he's just got to be able to say, "Look, this is my stuff. If you hit it, you hit it." This is not a guy who can afford to put guys on with walks.
The
like
problem is they're
you're
hitting
talking about,
it too. I mean, his average exit velocity on a lot of his pitches are 90 plus.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
not
he
fooling
does.
anyone. He's nibbling and they're hitting it hard. It's a bad combination.
Yeah, he
There's
does have to
nothing
live on the
redeeming in that
edges.
profile of what I just said.
Yeah. I mean, I still like the stuff, and like you said, it might be a hard pathway to figure out going forward, but it's got to be. It's got to be a little.
It's
bit
just
better
interesting.
for him.
His pitch velocity is down from a year ago. Like some
Yeah,
parts of it significantly down. His spin is down. It's.
I wonder, like pitch mix wise. I didn't dig into last year's pitch mix data before this episode, but like in this one right now, he's throwing a lot of four seams and he's throwing sweepers. Is this a case of a guy who like just needs to throw less four seams because it's not a good pitch? Like,
well, the sweeper isn't doing very well either. If we're being honest, like he's not.
Yeah.
When your sweeper has 0 whiffs, like that's
not. I mean, he has 0 whiffs right now. He has 0.
It's interesting because the game says, "Oh, he has 1 swing miss. He has 0 whiffs." You're right, but it's like, I mean, a sweeper should do a little more than it is, and it's got a pretty high exit velocity. I think that's what the home run was actually off his sweeper. And then the other problem is the Guardians. Then it's a story for another day. But I'm using the game day app because again, I don't want to slow down our feed here, but it has them swinging at balls that are just way outside. They are making this way too. They're not being the selected. And again, Michael King's really good. Like maybe people don't like Michael King will probably be a top 5 Cy Young pitcher this year. I'll say that now.
Yeah. His movement profile is absolutely insane. Michael King reminds me a lot of Corey Kluber. I have to be honest. I think the way the fastball moves, the slider he's
going to get a huge amount of money this offseason.
Yeah, he's a good pitcher. So I mean, it's just that's the way the lineup's going to go. He's going to dominate.
But they're making him look better than Cole Raggins or Seth Lugo, which he might be. He might honestly be, but it's hard from that one. But yeah, Logan Allen is just hard because nothing right now. It looks like he's got a bunch of 40 pitches, and like I just don't see how a bunch of 40 grade pitches is going to help. Like, and I want to be wrong. Like, I was the high guy on when they drafted him. I was the high guy when he was in the minors. I thought that slider, which he doesn't really even use anymore. It's like the sweeper now. Or no, it was the change. It was the changeup that in college was the good pitch. And I thought, oh, well, he's got a chance for a 55, like sweeper and a 60 change. And it's okay if it's a 45 fastball. Maybe it'll get to 50. I don't know if anything's at 50 right now. And I hate to be so negative, and we'll dive into it more tomorrow, but they just struck out on the side again, so it's time for me to be quiet. The side is
the good
they
news
look
is
like a little league team facing a major league pitcher right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, just in this game. I mean, King can make better lineups than this one look tough. So
they have 11 strikeouts out of 15 possible outs. Like he is on a record-setting pace right now. Like he's good, but like, is he 20 strikeout good? He might be tonight.
Yeah, he might be. All right, we'll talk more about that. We'll talk about Stock Watch Wednesday. That was a borderline call to Quan. Anyway, we'll do all more of that next on this episode of Locked On Guardians. Managing your money. We all need to do it better. If you've ever checked your bank account and you think, where did all my money go? We're all dining out. online shopping, food orders, entertainment. We all lose track of that kind of stuff when we're buying things on the fly. Monarch Money comes in, and they are your personal CFO. They give you full visibility and control of your finances. And it's not just any other budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending in one place. You can stop managing your money and start building your wealth. It is tax season. You want to make sure you have a better handle on your finances going on right now. Maybe you have some goals throughout the year you're trying to set in terms of savings. Maybe you want to go on that vacation. Maybe you want to do some investing. Or maybe you just want to do a little bit better with tracking your money. All of that can be done with Monarch Money. You can share information with your partners, shared accounts, personal accounts, goals, stay on the same page, avoid those fights about money that we've all had, I'm sure. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to get half off your first year.
Should I do a quick box score bingo so we can move on from yesterday's game, since I know that is...
Yeah, do some bingo and do some 3 stars. What you got?
So let's start with the 3 stars. I did have some debate in this one. Obviously, Jose Ramirez, I think, is an easy one. With 3 hits, was it in the end, and a home run. I think you have to give it to Hedgie, who gave us an early, April Fool's Day by first at bat home run and the walk in the game. And then I debated the last one. Because, it was nice to see McKenzie come out and have a positive outcome, and I almost just wanted to give it to him because, hey, it's a player we're looking for some positive outcomes, some positivity. But I can't ignore the fact that Carlos Santana had 2 hits, one of those being an extra base hit. On top of that, he actually had their hit the ball the furthest of any Guardians hitter in the game. So I have to give it to Santana as the 3rd star with 8 hits and only 1 walk. It stands out. We talked about the importance of them being patient and getting those walks. In the era, they had 10 opportunities. That's about 3 runs, not quite 4. So, them getting 2 is underperforming. On the other side of things, with 12 hits and 5 walks, that's 17 plus another run. That's 18. That's about 6 runs. So they overperformed. And as always, theirs is kind of a surprising overperform because they only had the 3 extra base hits. Normally you see a higher percentage of the hits being extra base hits. They had 9 singles in that one. They were just able to put things together. Top and the bottom of the lineup came together. So there's your box score bingo. There's your 3 stars. We've now had 12 of them, and Manzardo is the only repeat. And right now, it is not looking like he will repeat in today's game unless things change.
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time finding 3 stars in this one.
Right now, it's Quan and Arias, and we'll see. I mean, Logan Allen might get it because he's played the tightrope game in spite of all my negativity, but
just give it to the defense, right? The defense is really the reason this game is 1-0 is because of the defense. Otherwise, it could be out of control and this could be a blowout.
Yeah,
that's why it's the way it is.
I'll give it to Michael King because it's been that ridiculous that he'll get my first ever opponent 3-star.
Yeah. All right, let's do a quick stock watch Wednesday since we're kind of on the subject here. What are you buying for we're 1 time through the rotation? How do you feel about the rotation? Are you holding stock 1 time through on? I think I'm holding on Luis Ortiz. Like, obviously, it's people are going to say, "Really, you're making a big deal out of 1 star." I'm not making a big deal out of 1 star, but I do think you and I both are kind of on the fence with Logan Allen about how long this is going to work. So I'm not necessarily loving where things go. So I don't know if I would necessarily invest in a lot of long-term stock in Logan Allen. I'm holding on Luis Ortiz, but I don't know if I'm really buying long-term on Logan Allen at the moment.
I sold on Allen last year and I didn't buy any back. So I got nothing to do there.
Yeah.
Ben Lively, I'm probably going to sell on because we know it's, on a good team, he's probably not a 5th. And this inning's getting away from him here after a single and a wild pitch. But, it's like it's just a hard profile to find success in. He has managed to do it. If you want to look for a pathway for Logan Allen, it's lefty Ben Lively. I mean,
he's got to be more aggressive. That's what makes Lively good. Is that Lively is aggressive with his pitch
Lively
mix.
though also is pitching all around the zone at the corners, and
he's better at it though. He's better at it. He's aggressive with it. I feel like Logan Allen doubles a little bit more.
Sorry, I just get distracted by how bad this game is. I should turn off.
But it's still only 1-0.
It's not going to be for long with the way he's pitching in this inning. Yeah, I mean, just walk the batter. I mean, you got to take care of the business at the bottom of the order. You got a 28-year-old rookie who's killed you for a double, and you just walked him after throwing wild pitches. It's, but the top of the order, I'm buying. But on the whole, for this rotation, like I'm probably selling, just because it's not because of one time through the rotation. It's just like my concerns heading in, nothing has been allayed. If anything, my concerns are magnified after 1 week. And it's based on what I saw a year ago. It's based off of what I saw in spring, and it's based off of now. It's like I trust the top two, and
Yeah.
and I just don't have a lot of faith after that. Like I think Lively is a fine 5, but Allen and Ortiz, I mean, there's room for concern.
Yeah, they got options, which is a good thing. We'll see how long it goes with Logan Allen. I will say this: I had some people text me about this on Monday night during the game. Would you have given a quicker hook to Ortiz? I wouldn't have, because there are some people saying, well, Vogt has been aggressive hooking starters early on. It's early in the season with Williams and Bybee, things like that. But he left Luis Ortiz in quite a long time, and he didn't have it, which I agree. He didn't have it. So you could have made the case for him giving him the quicker hook. I will say, though, I feel like the reason he tried to squeeze more out of Ortiz on Monday night in the series was because you knew you had Logan Allen coming the next night. You had Ben Lively the following day. You knew you didn't have the pitching matchup advantage. So I think you wanted to try to save some of that bullpen a little bit for the next 2 games, because you thought you might need it more. So I get where people are coming from, saying like they maybe should have hooked Ortiz quicker because he didn't have it, but you do have to consider the rest of the series. You got an off day Thursday, so that you can be a little more aggressive the next 2 days. But people also are making a big deal about his bullpen use early on, saying it's aggressive, but it's early too. It is early.
I think people need to calm down. If I'm being honest, because here's the thing.
It's 5 games. 5 games. Yeah.
It's not even that. Tanner was puking his guts out 2 days before. He was not at 100%.
Exactly.
Gavin Williams had injury issues a year ago and dealt with ineffectiveness. You're not going to sit here early in the season and ride your horses. That's not how baseball works. Guys build up slowly. We talk about this in college baseball all the time. Like if I see a college pitcher throwing like over 80 pitches in the first like 3 weeks, that's malpractice. You don't want to see that. And honestly, it's like no one's going for 100 pitches. That is not good for your team in the long run. So he pulled guys out when they were, and you also want to help establish early success. You don't want to leave a guy in who's had a great outing early on, especially someone like Gavin Williams, who really struggled a year ago and at points seemed like there was confidence issues. You don't want to leave that guy out to dry. You want to make sure he leaves with success on the mound, and you're building them up. You leave in Ortiz because exactly what you talked about, that he needed to eat some innings for the sake of the bullpen, because I mean, Logan Allen, it's getting ugly here for him. Him going 5 is an accomplishment, but you weren't sure if that was going to happen. And
the next night, yeah. And you don't have the pitching advantage either.
Yeah. So it's a situation where they left him out there. He's also probably the healthiest guy in that rotation too. Like he has not had arm issues. He hasn't had anything else. He wasn't throwing up recently. So you're just trying to, they didn't have it yesterday, and he kind of had to wear it, and that happens sometimes. And when you have your big horses, you don't want to have them come racing out and then fall behind. You got to wait to put your spurs in, whatever they do in horse racing. If you push too early, they're going to run out of gas. You got to make sure that you have your players not out of steam by the end.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the base running blunder in game 1. Yeah. I mean, that was just Arias came off the base too far, and Hart turned around, so that made it so,
which he's allowed to do when if the runner's in action. That's why it's not a ball.
And then he blocked Machado from throwing, which is why Hedges was out, and then Rocchio singled, and I don't know, I can't remember Quante after that, but they might have gotten a run. But I don't think it would have mattered the way Ortiz was throwing the ball. It may not have mattered.
And let's be honest, it wouldn't have mattered if they hadn't done that, because Rocchio hasn't had a hit with runners on since like last August. Like the only reason he got a hit is because the runners were off the base at that point in time. Like that was the whole thing of the postseason. It's like a mental cramp that occurs in those situations for him. So it's frustrating. It's early, and again, the San Diego team just smoked a very good Atlanta team.
I don't know how good Atlanta is. They've got a lot of it. I mean, Profar, we haven't talked about Jerks, and Profar is out with PEDs. I kind of want him in the off season. Now Vanilla Lopez is out. They don't have Acuna back. That Atlanta team is in kind of trouble right now. One more thing for Stock Watch Wednesday. I think, Jeff, you'll agree with this one. I think we already said stock up for Parker Messick. We had him on the show a while ago. He had a great spring breakout. He's starting the year in AAA. He's starting tonight. As you're listening to this on Wednesday, he is starting for the Clippers, making his first AAA start Wednesday night. We thought he was ticketed for AA to start the year. We thought, oh, that's not good. They really are holding him back. He didn't have that many innings at AA. Usually Cleveland's a little more conservative than that. I actually like the fact that they're starting with AAA. I think this gives hope to the fact that we will see Parker Messick in 2025 in Cleveland.
I still disagree with you there, just because there's the Nick Caseys and everyone in front of him. They got to run out, and they don't want to start a service time earlier than they have to, because I don't think they have to add him to the 40-man this offseason. So
they do have to add him this offseason. Yes,
okay.
He is Rule 5.
Well, then maybe I'll change my tune a bit. How about I throw this one out to you for a stock watch? Hey, Luis Arias finally got a hit. He
hit Monday night too. He
he was one of the least productive hitters in baseball.
Was over.
Yeah. Do you know who a minimum of 10 plate appearances? Who are the top 3 WRC pluses on this team?
Carlos Santana.
Nope.
Kyle Manzardo. Steven Kwan.
Yep.
Jose.
Nope.
Nolan Jones.
Nope.
Bo Naylor.
Nope.
Gabriel Arias.
Gabriel Arias, I'm not saying this is sustainable, and the BABIP is obviously too high, but it's like yesterday's game. He had one of the few hard hit balls. He's got the only other hit in this game. He's got his blunders. He's definitely him and Rocchio are both nutty professors out there, but Gabby's been a little bit fun to watch, and he seems to do at least one positive thing in every game. So I'm kind of curious to see how this continues to go, because when he hits the ball, it goes far. So yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough to maintain him, but it's interesting to watch at least.
Yeah. Andrew Walters was good in AAA, his first outing. So it looks like the shoulder issues are behind him. We'll have to talk about that second left-hander role, the bullpen role, as it evolves throughout the year. So maybe we'll touch on Walters a little bit on Wednesday's episode. We'll get into the second half of Game 2 on Wednesday's episode. We will touch on Game 3. Game 3 is a day game, so Lively and Dylan cease. They will not cease to be amazed if the Guardians don't win that game either. But we'll talk about that on Wednesday. We'll look ahead to the Angel series coming up. I will say the Guardians do have a softer schedule for a little after this. You got you do have the Angels and the White Sox. I think the Pirates. The Pirates are off to a horrible start, so it does get better, even if they don't.
They get the hard part of the Padres. That's one of the things too. It's like the Padres are getting the weak part of Cleveland's pitching staff, and Cleveland is getting the hardest part of the Padres pitching staff. So things did not line up well.
Defense, it's 3-0. But once again, the Guardians threw 2 runners out on Monday night. Noel and Lane Thomas threw a runner out, and then looks like Daniel Sheeman just threw a runner out too. Guardians outfield arms, are every day. Or David Yoder talked about how
saying Quan in my update, but the game day app has been known to be wrong.
It was not Quan. It was definitely a center fielder. The way it was hit. So Guardians outfield assists are doing good. Monday night was good. The defense has been keeping this close. It's 3-0. It feels a little more than 3-0, but the defense has kept it close, and they had another outfield assist tonight. Every day, our David Yoder, and our insider, was talking up the outfield arms this year, and he's got a great point. So that's been good for these games. All right, we're back on Wednesday.
Yeah, I want to end on something positive. I'm sorry, everyone. I've been so negative. It's just been this game, for whatever reason, has been the hardest one for me to watch this year, and I'm not even fully watching it. It's all on the game day app. But I want to just sit there and say, like, it's early. Let's not knee jerk. Let's not overreact. This is a good team facing a good team. If they fall below 500, I also want to point out that on the Athletic rankings today, they put the currently winless, so they might get a win tonight, Twins ahead of the Guardians. It's so early that it's too early.
The Twins just got their first win.
There we go. They're 1-4. So don't overreact. The national publications aren't. There's plenty of time. So just deep breath, enjoy the positives. And if you haven't watched it, maybe right now, skip this one. Thank you all for joining. Not this show, but you've already watched it. So I know you haven't skipped it, but this game. Thank you all for watching. Rate and review. Download daily. It helps. Make sure you leave a comment. Shout out to Keelan, I believe, who said we're now part of her daily routine every single day. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.